Good afternoon, everyone, once again. Thank you, Pastor Burmy, and thank you, Joanne, for your wonderful messages. At this conference, we started off with a speaker who I really liked. His name was Brian Kwan. And he told us this short little story that I thought was funny that I'd share, where one day he was staying at his friend's house. And his friend is very organized, very nice, modern house. Everything is like where it should be. There's not one thing out of place. And so he goes to his friend's house and he stays there the night. And this guy's a big coffee drinker. And so he wakes up in the morning and he gets all ready. And then before he wants to go, he's like, oh, I need to just make a cup of coffee for myself. Nothing big. And so he gets all the beans, he gets them all ground up, he gets his coffee mug out, and he gets some water into the little coffee maker, and he can't find a filter, one of those white hole filters you open up, and he just can't find it. He starts looking everywhere. He starts going through all the drawers where he's all oh, maybe it should be in here, maybe it's here. He's looking around everywhere, and he just can't find it. After a good 10 minutes, he's just stumped. He's like, I don't know where these coffee filters are. And so he leaves. He can't find it. He talks with his friend a little bit later, and his friend asks him, he's like, so how was the stay at our place? He's like, oh, it was good. He's like, I really like your house. Gave him a compliment. And he says, the only thing is, I couldn't find any coffee filters. When I was at your place, I was looking for some coffee, and I just couldn't find it. And his friend says, oh, coffee filters. He brings them, they're at his house later. He says, oh, the coffee filters are right here. And he points, and it's right underneath the coffee machine itself, sticking out. It's this brown little piece of paper. And so this guy had this preconceived notion that, oh, these coffee filters, they look this certain way. He was looking for this white piece of paper when really it was just brown. He had in his mind this preconceived notion, and it completely blinded him from what was right in front of his face the entire time. Take what you will with seeing something white versus the brown thing that gets missed along the way. That was one of the big points for this section in our conference, is that for all of us, our preconceived notions of things can cause us to miss the kingdom of God in the midst of whatever we're doing in our world. We could think oh, well, I have this curriculum for this class I want to teach. I have this plan. I have this image of what I want to do. And we can have all these things built up in our mind. And it would cause us to miss what God's trying to do. Because we put in front of it what we want to do, what we have in mind for what this should look like. It should look like a white piece of paper, when really it's not. And for all of us, we can get tunnel vision in what we're doing, no matter what it might be, whether ministry or not. We can get tunnel vision where it has to go a certain way, and we're so fixated on this one thing off in the distance that we lose sight of everything else. And we can start with noble intentions. Absolutely, we can start with good intentions, where we think oh, I want to build a ministry that serves trafficked women overseas, or I want to have this ministry that trains leaders in other countries, or I want to build a foundation for putting underprivileged kids through college, or I want to build this empire for God in the course of my lifetime. And with the insidious nature of pride is that it's slow. It's monotonous. It's something that goes under our detection in our everyday. And people rarely start out in the midst of something super proud, super arrogant, super just oh, look what I've done. Rarely ever that. And the people that do start it that way usually often fail right at the gate. But over months, over years, over decades of seeing growth, of seeing multiplication, of seeing success in ministry and all the praise that comes with that, our mindset can get solidified, where we see and get this feeling of oh, well, only my team can do this, or only a big church like, only Foursquare can do this, only GCI can do this, only Billy Graham could do that. Only the empire that we built can do a specific task. And we can get so caught up in the notion that we have this empire, we have this branding, we have this thing that we built, that we forget that God already has his kingdom. And so there is a group, it's a big group, for those who've been in college, most know of it. It's called InterVarsity. Very big thing. They have well over 1,000 chapters in many colleges throughout America. It's big. It's a fantastic ministry. I was in it for a good season when I went to Cal State Northridge several years ago. And it's cool. It's a Christian organization. They're trying to just have people have a Christian community that you can go to in school, somewhere that you can find refuge, respite, and you can be with people who love God. And so that's the intention of InterVarsity. But one of the things, as this guy, Ryan Kwan, who was speaking, he works for InterVarsity. And he was noting that over X amount of years, they built up what he said was an empire. They built up this big name of InterVarsity. Most people know this name. If you go to college, you'd ask like, oh, do you guys have an InterVarsity here? It's a big deal. And they grew and multiplied. They were successful on all accounts. However, he said that they still have something like 1,300 colleges left to actually get into, to actually plant a chapter in these colleges. And at the rate of their growth, he did math, it would take well over like 100 years to be able to get the rest of these. And so what they ended up doing is they realized that they can't do this by themselves, that this brand name of InterVarsity isn't enough, and they have to be willing to lay that down. And so they partnered with Campus Crusade, or Crew as they're called now, to be more effective in what they were doing and ultimately trying to build the kingdom and not build their empire that they had in the name of InterVarsity. They're willing to lay that down because who Christ is, the kingdom that he is king over, is more important than the empire of InterVarsity or Campus Crusade or whatever might have been built over decades of time. And for most of us here, myself included, I believe that we all have our empires in our life. It doesn't have to be something grand like InterVarsity, where we've made thousands of chapters in thousands of colleges across the world. It could be something smaller, where it's like, oh, well, I have this group of people that come to me for counseling every single month, consistently. Or I donate X amount of dollars, $1,000 to this ministry a month. It's a small church, and they can only survive because of my funding. Or I give food to the homeless every Friday, every Monday, and they would be dead without me. And as Burmy and Jillian was saying, they were saying, this needs a shift in our mindset. That's one of the big themes of Hero Maker, is just a shift in our mindset. Because a lot of things that are taught there are not brand new. This is not like, oh, I've never thought of this concept before. I've never ever heard someone preach this before. But we continually need to be reminded. We need to shift our mindset from building our empires to growing the kingdom of God. And so one of the questions they asked us to ponder on, and one of the questions I want to ask all of you to ponder on in your own life, this isn't something I'm going to go around and like grill you on later and need to know the answers. This is something where to be honest and real with yourself in your own life, in the ministry that you participate in. One of the questions is, when we grow or multiply or see success in our ministry, does it need your branding? Does it need your name attached to it? Does it need your image to be born on the face of it? Or do you partner with others to see the kingdom grow? Do we care if we get recognition? Do we care if people acknowledge, hey, Anthony started this ministry. He's the one that we need to acknowledge because we wouldn't be here if it weren't for Anthony starting this. Do we have that mindset? Or do we care that God gets all the praise and that we point everything to him? Even in a hard moment where you are the pastor of a church and you see one of your members needs to leave to go to a different church so that they can be more effective, so that they can serve God and they can spread the growth of the kingdom more effectively. Do we care about the name of our church? Do we care about the name of our denomination more than we care about the kingdom of God? If we go, I have a Starbucks, Virginia and I have a Starbucks down the street that we go to. And we love it. Very nice, very cozy to be in there. But tell me, would Starbucks care if we stopped going to that one and we went to a different one down the street? No, because it's the same company. The same thing is true with the kingdom of God. There are different denominations, yeah. But as long as we're preaching that Christ is king, that's what's most important above anything else. Even if it can be painful where someone leaves our church because they feel they can be more effective somewhere else, if it ultimately serves the kingdom and not our empire, even if the empire looks like our church, that's a win. That's something for the kingdom. The second question that they asked us is, when we go and talk to someone about whatever their ministry is, whatever it could be. They could be the leader, they could be someone who just joined, it could be whatever. When you talk to someone in the midst of their ministry, do you find that they talk more about what they do and who they are than who they serve? I have a friend who is a good friend of mine, and he's a part of this Bible study. And he's been a part of it for years. And I've sat down and I've talked to him about it. And I remember the first time he was trying to sell me to go to it. He was talking about like, oh, we have this curriculum, and oh, we go by the book, and oh, we have all these different outlets for this and that, and oh, we do this during the week, and this and this and that. And he talked on and on about what they were doing. And to my recollection, I don't remember once hearing the name Jesus Christ said in the midst of him advertising a Bible study. And so for all of us, ourselves included, when we present things to people for what we're doing, do we talk about more about what we're doing than who we serve? If our actions don't point to Christ immediately, it's something that we might need to reevaluate in what we're doing in our life. Matthew 6, verse 33 says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." For all of us, we need to seek first the kingdom of God. We need to allow God to work in us, in the midst of us, in the midst of our ministries, in the midst of our personal lives, in the midst of everything that we do, because all empires will fall before the kingdom of God. Amen? Amen. Let's pray. Father, Son, Spirit, we just come before you, and God, we thank you that you are our King, that your kingdom is the one that will prevail in the midst of everything that we do in this world. God, we thank you that you allow us to be a part of that kingdom. You allow us to participate in that kingdom. You allow us to work within that kingdom. And God, we thank you so much that you are so loving in the midst of all this, that despite you deserving all of the praise, despite you being 100% deserving of all of the attention, of all of the affirmation of everything, God, you are still humble in the midst of this. And you yourself, in your ministry here, you trained disciples, God. You told them that they would do greater things than you did, Father, in your humility. And we thank you so much for that. We thank you for just your very nature, and you allowing us to partner with you, to be with you in the midst of everything that you're doing. I thank you so much, God, for everyone here. I thank you for all the work that all of us as individuals do to expand and grow your kingdom, God. And And I just pray that we'll continue to be focused on you more than we are on ourselves. I thank you, God, and we just pray this in Jesus'